Welcome to another episode of the Smart Real Estate Coach podcast, your source for actionable real-life examples and advice to help you move to the next level of investing. Each week, we help you make a quantum leap in your business, your finances, and/or your life. We want to help you take back control, help you thrive during chaos, and lead you through the current crisis to a better tomorrow. For more resources, check out smartrealestatecoach.com and be sure to give us a rating and review on your favorite platform.
Good morning, Smart Real Estate Coach listeners. It's Chris Pre, your host again with another amazing guest. I love bringing on variety for you guys, especially here we are sitting at the end of the year. My next guest, Mr. Alex Arguelles, is the CEO and co-founder who launched his real estate career back at age 21. He co-founded Zadig. It's a management group, and he helped scale Zadig from a 3-person starter, get this, to a 175 employee organization. And I share that with you because you don't do that without headaches. And I love bringing people on that have experience that you can reach out to for similar experiences through your journey. Over 13 years, he played a key role there. He's acquiring, he's managing, and he was selling more than 15,000 apartments before the company's exit in 2020. Now, today, Alex leads up Hybrid Ventures, where he partners with high-caliber entrepreneurs. He invests in disruptive companies, and he serves as an active angel investor and an advisor to emerging technology ventures. We're going to jump into some really cool things today about, hey, how'd you scale? What were some of the headaches that you went through? Lessons from that journey of 15,000 different units he had to work his way through. Again, not without headaches. And then I want to talk about the future of real estate, because that's going to be really cool and a different take on it. Can't wait to dive in here. Alex, with that as a backdrop, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris. Happy Tuesday.
Yeah, happy Tuesday. Hey, as we were talking earlier, and I just said in my intro, I mean, you did so many cool things at such a high scale. I'd like to first kind of bring it behind the green curtain, so to speak, and give these guys a sneak peek as to how you arrived there. When I say there, I'm going all the way back to, your start as a CEO and co-founder way back. And so they know what your brain was and where it went.
Yeah, I'll make it fun. So I have a sports management degree, so nothing that we're going to be talking about. So I graduated college in 2007, right before the great financial crisis. And I had a sales job with my internship at a hockey team down here, the Florida Panthers. And they offered me, true story, $27,000 the year I graduated. I graduated honors to work in the back office, wear a tie, and make sales calls. And I was like, no, I'm already broke. I didn't grow up here. I'm an immigrant. Like, you know what? Like, let's just take a shot. So me and my college roommate started a real estate company out of luck. And that was late 2007, 2008 happened. And it was a great time to not own any real estate yet, right? The great financial crisis was coming. People were getting decapitated. Lenders were taking over assets completely different than it is now. Like, people had no equity in the deals. They were walking away. So for the first 3 years, we're doing quote unquote consulting, 21-year-old kid with a mohawk trying to tell people what to do with the real estate without experience. Except I got my PhD in the School of Hard Knocks for the first 3 years, and I just learned 3 years of just experience sharing and seeing people run away from the fire. That by 2010, we started running towards the fire. We started buying distressed debt. We had no money, so we had to raise 100% investor funds. And that was also an experience. And during that entire journey, we started growing the company vertically, my initial company, and we brought asset management, property management, accounting, we did all debt, all the equity, and we started growing and growing and growing. And our move was buy an ugly asset, mostly apartment complexes. We'll buy the debt and finish the foreclosure, or just buy the actual asset from the bank after they haven't gotten paid in 3 years. It's not about like boarded up buildings in the hood, like the hood. And we would honestly just learn. We got very lucky that we bought very cheap because we made a lot of mistakes, and the rising tides saved our assets, to be blunt, right? Because we had to learn somehow. We didn't come from we didn't go to college. We didn't get PhDs, or we didn't have internships in real estate. We came from different businesses. So we learned, and then we decided to really take risk, and we started scaling it. So by the end of it, before COVID, when I sold everything, we had about 9,000 units throughout the US, owning management, everything in-house, and lots of war stories by the age of 30 at that point.
You see me scribbling notes. I got definitely have some questions to peel back. So you're young, 2021, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
I want to know, maybe it was naive. Like when I was in my 20s, I don't know. What was it that gave you mentally the confidence to go in clarity? I want to know about how you even got there to dive into that the way you did so aggressively, especially after the crash?
So it was the right time. We saw so many people, like I said, disenchanted by real estate, especially in South Florida where I was, that there was a lot of distressed debt. And I didn't have any burn. I didn't have any kids yet. I wasn't married. And we were just out of a garage trying to make things happen. And then naive, I imagine, that I hadn't felt the pain yet, right, of crazy real estate world or entrepreneurship. And then once it started working, the addict started kicking in me of trying to do more. And then I was desensitized to risk because like we came from nothing. So it's not like we had to, we made $1 million and we had to not lose the capital. No, we had zero. We had zero money to invest. So it was just, we had to hit the promotes. And most people who I imagine are watching this, or it took me 13 years to learn, you make all your money in real estate when you hit the returns or when you use other people's money. So we had to do that over and over and over again. And once we started doing round trips, we would buy ugly buildings, stabilize them, the whole BRR thing. But we would do it in commercial real estate way before it was a thing. So we would buy ugly buildings, raise a little bit extra capital, rehab them, occupy them, and a year or two later, we'll try to refi. But in 2010, you can refi. There's no debt. And the building's not gone through foreclosure, and we were 24 years old, so we would have to hold them a little longer. But like 6-7 years into that journey, we were able to do every 2 years, use CMBS debt, buy really big portfolios, occupy them, make them prettier, refi our money out, do more. That's how we started accumulating.
So how did you get your legs in credibility, I guess, when you were brand new to raise capital? Because I know people are scared of that. I definitely think you could help them with that.
So it was a different world because no one wanted to buy anything. We were the idiots going, hey, we'll try to take this off your hands, right? But definitely at first, it's a big pain in the ass, to be blunt, for people to trust you. When the market's hot, is way more difficult because there's so much competition and everybody stands up and says, look what I've done and look at everything that I've done, even though they might own like 1% of a deal, right? But they say, look, I'm an owner of 2,000 units, and when they're an LP and they don't do anything. But we had to like really go build relationships. Like with those lenders, they'll be like, who the hell are you? You're a 24-year-old dude with no experience. We're like, we're trying to buy this. Let's create a relationship. Right? We started small, and then we would do more with the same lender. And, they will max out that relationship because the bank allows you to only borrow like some amount per relationship. And then we would do more and more until we started doing more CMBS debt. What in single family world might be DSCR loans, which is led the building, led the asset, led the rents, finance, or do all the covenants for the loan. So that's how we started growing. And towards the end of it, we're doing some really big loans, and we kept taking risks.
It's awesome. And did you have, I'm thinking back when I went to the crash, did you have doubters saying to you, whether it was your age or the crash or whatever, no, you're crazy, don't do that?
So always, especially people who are not risk tolerant, but I started so young that I think I'm broken, that I don't mind risk, and I don't feel the pain. All right. I was broken at a very early age where, like, imagine you're a gymnast and you start at the age of 4. By the time you're 10, you've already done enough stuff that you're so flexible, you don't feel the pain. Like, that was probably what happened to me.
Yeah. That's one way of going at it, right? Or being seasoned. Yeah. You said like 3 times, I just had to learn it. Just learn it. Did you at any point, like, hard knocks, clearly, because when you're moving that fast, you learn, stuff happens, as I said in the intro. But what about, did you have any mentors, coaches, people you looked up to? Anyone took you under their wing, anything?
So the first book I ever bought is right here, is yellow. It's Mortgages for Dummies. I had no idea what a mortgage was. And in 2007, I graduated, Google and YouTube wasn't what it was. So you couldn't just be like, hey, Siri, or hey, Gemini, or hey, what is a mortgage? Explain to me in a story. No, it's like, what is a mortgage? What is depreciation? What is amortization? What is the 30-year? Like, that was the first thing. And then I wish I would have had a mentor earlier. That was one of, like, when I look back after everything that I've accomplished, I wish I would have people who were shorter my learning curve, like exponentially. So I do it now when I do investments, when I do angel investments and VC type of stuff, where like I talk to the founders, I'm like, you have no idea what's going to kick you in the face. You up and to the right, and everything's beautiful, but you have no idea what's going to kill you, right? And one of the first things should be like, try to beat up your idea as hard as you can in the beginning, and then go from there. So yeah, no, I didn't have any mentors. I wish I had. And I tell everybody now, like, I wish I had.
Okay, so let's go on that. So let's talk about some, I know you got a million of them, but let's talk about maybe 1 or 2 key things before you exited that company. So during that build when you were the youngest, that you look back at now and go, man, this is major lessons and maybe a major accomplishment after because of that? I don't know.
Lots of more war stories across every single asset of the company as you were growing. Because we also didn't just grow in one place. We grew in multiple cities. We had assets in South Florida, Central Florida, Georgia, Texas, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota. I looked in Utah. I looked in Idaho. We looked in many different states. But like a lot of the live lessons was like how to manage people remotely back then. And now it's easy. Back then it was a lot more difficult, and to spread the DNA and like to keep people driven and to buy into the core values. Like that was interesting, right? Especially when I'm 26 years old, 27 years old, right? So that was a big life lessons. And then like taking risk fast and failing and only learning through experience. That was a big part of what we did and what I did. Like nothing is more prevalent to me. Like when I make a decision, and I'm kind of also broken where when I make a decision, I'm all in, let's go. And sometimes I look back and I said it was the wrong decision. But like once I make the decision and actually executing and trying to make things happen, I learn so much faster than just sitting behind the scenes, right? So like to me, it's a lot of getting my hands dirty and experience sharing and learning from other people. And I think another lesson was always like hire better people than me in certain things. Like I suck at accounting. Like I don't find accounting fun. It doesn't make me happy, right? Why would I be doing balance sheets and income statements and bookkeeping and whatever, right? So hire better people that are experienced, that could mold to what we want to grow, was also a big life lesson. I remember the first person I ever hired was a $40,000 employee and was a property manager. And I was like, this person better be the best person in the world because I'm not getting paid like, and they were fucking terrible. Sorry, but like, you know, to me, they were getting paid. I wasn't. They should be good. And then I was like, I missed the ball completely. So lots of life lessons.
And that was your first major hire?
First major hire was when we started acquiring buildings. We had like 20 units. Someone had to collect the rent. And then once we started bringing the property management company in house, we hired a property manager. And it was like, this did not go well. Not go well. Then we started collecting cash, and cash started disappearing from the rents, and you're like, what happened? And then we went to money orders, and we went digital. So like, but we wouldn't have learned that without getting our hands dirty, right? So.
Yeah. Okay, who wants to be the next apprentice? Pretty interesting, guys. We started this apprentice program back as a July 4th, 2024 promo. That's where it started. And it was so incredibly effective. We were just going to run it for the summer. It was so effective immediately. We kept it. It's in place now. And what is it? It allows you to get into the community, the Wicked Smart community, for less dollars than the QLS home study course sells for right now on our site. In fact, when you go to smartrealestatecoach.com/apprentice-pod, apprentice-pod, when you go there, you're going to see that as an apprentice, you're going to get over $13,000 worth of coaching, the possibility for you to touch base with us if you want to, 4 or 5 times a week, and it doesn't exist anywhere out there, frankly. That's why we did it. We did it for 2 reasons. One, no one is giving you the support out there. We keep hearing feedback, which is how this was born, that other educators are not giving support. They're just selling stuff. So it doesn't exist anywhere, and nowhere in the real estate education or coaching space. And we want to help you do one thing, deals. So we've wrapped the support mechanism around this. We've allowed you to get into a Slack community with the other associates who previously were protected in Slack, and now you get to jump in there and experience that for 12 weeks. You also get to come to the In the Trenches bootcamp, which is private. It's a chance to hang out with the family team and one of the coaches for 2.25 days in our conference room, roll up our sleeves, get calls done, get deals done. If you come with leads, you leave with deals. Absolutely incredible. I could go on and on. Go to the website right now. Check out more information about the apprentice, and I'm going to give you the In the Trenches bootcamp site because you don't have to become an apprentice. It just happens to be free with apprentice and associate. So 2 links I'm going to give you, super important. smartrealestatecoach.com/ITTB-pod. That's going to give you some information about the bootcamp. If you want to buy a ticket to the bootcamp, it's more expensive, but you can. Just to come check us out. About 1 or 2 people every time we run it do just that. Or become an apprentice, and it's for free. smartrealestatecoach.com/apprentice-pod. Very, very cool lessons. And you probably think necessary, right? To most of them. Let's switch gears a little bit. everyone, at least when I'm on shows, everybody wants the crystal ball. I know we don't have that, but what do you talk about cycles a little bit in general, and then where you see things now as far as the cycle?
So considering or learning that I came from 2007, 2008, by that, the reason I started selling everything in 2019 before COVID, because I thought the world was going to start burning faster than it did. And then COVID extended it. Right. So I've been negative Nancy for a while because I like buying distressed opportunities. Right. That's where I believe you make a lot of your money. And we're seeing a lot of that now, which, took an extra 4 years because COVID just delayed it, with interest rates coming down instead of going up like I thought.
Yeah.
But especially with seltzer and with the things that we're doing now, we're seeing lots of the regular consumer needing cash. Hard stop. Like, it is what it is. A lot of people are sitting on equity. So I'm seeing a lot more opportunities, like real opportunities. People are in foreclosure with equity, people losing their job, but who need access to cash. And a lot of people are sitting with their biggest asset, their house. And what I think it's broken, most people grow up with the American dream. I didn't grow up here. So I get the American dream is that the best asset to have is your house. Right. But a lot of times, you might want to diversify. What if I'm in South Florida and a hurricane comes over us, right, and destroys it? There's so many different things that you could invest in today that it's not just your house. It could be ETFs and crypto and digital and LP deals and all sorts of private companies and things. So we're seeing lots of opportunities, and I think investors are capitalizing, and the ones that are willing to take risk right now.
Yeah, especially in Florida, right? Florida, I have students all over the country, but Florida just seems like it's getting beat up sooner than others.
So I think valuations probably, but we're seeing transactions happen in all over the place. Northern California, Texas, Ohio's a crazy, weird, hard market. Northern Kentucky, we're agnostic. Florida, you're seeing more of the price depreciation faster. Rents haven't moved as much, which is kind of weird. Because at least in rentals, if the rents hold up, you could still get a loan and you'll be able to debt service easy. The problem's going to be if rents move down, which we haven't seen yet.
Yeah. Very interesting. Very different market, right? People say to me, "Oh, it's like 08," and there's a million stats that say the opposite. What do you take? What's your take on that?
I wish it was like 08. I wish there were opportunities like that again. I think it's different. I think there's a lot of liquidity in the market. And I think what's happened, if we talk just about, so we can talk about industrial, multifamily, whatever. We talk about just single family rental world or condos or the entry level to real estate where most people start. The fact that there's DSCR loans is insane to me in a good way. So because most people are going to get into real estate and they'll figure out after they do a couple of exercises that the number one thing they got to figure out is how much cash you got to bring to the table.
Yeah.
Because if they don't have the cash, you can't buy the property. Well, the offset to that is if you're able to get a DSCR loan, right, that you only got to bring 20, 30% to the table, well, then most of the work is done, right? So I love that there's the DSCR market right now. I think it's for an investor's gold, right? I think it's insane because it didn't exist 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
You have to go to a local bank, and JP Morgan had no idea how to underwrite this asset, and they only give you 65 cents on the dollar. Then you couldn't do a lot and they wouldn't move fast. So I think that's a big key. And I think just the regular investor has opportunities. There's also a lot more access to data. The amount of, I would say a story, I remember when I started looking at properties in South Florida, I'd be like, okay, who owns that property? And you go to the property appraiser and you search the folio number, the address, the LC. Then you go be like, okay, who owns the one next to it? And you click the map and the folio number will pop up and you're like, is that the same? Then you go to the other one. And then you'd be like, all right, let me go to Sunbiz, which is the entity website for state of Florida. I'd be like, who owns that? And what attorney owns that inside of that? And is it the same? It was such a pain in the ass. Today, it's so easy. There's so many tools that overlay and pull live data and signals and whatever. So there's a lot more access to data. There's also a lot more visibility to deals. But the problem is that guy getting in to real estate is they're all searching under the same pretense. They're all going to Trulia and Zillow, and they're all fighting for the same stuff. I had a joke in commercial real estate world where when you're in LoopNet or Crexy, you're the idiot. You're way too late. By the time it hits that, all the brokers have tried all local investors, the top investors, they send it to their VIP list and nothing's worked. And now they're like, let's just put it out to the world, see what happens. And all the numbers are, look at this great cap rate and it needs no rehab, but it's not reality, right? So a lot of it is how does the local or the entrepreneur, the guy getting into real estate, find transactions. How do we make it easier for them to get into that? So,
okay, so let's talk about that. Let's go backwards now. The brand new person, they've already decided in their mind to venture into, let's say, multifamily. What are 1, 2, or 3 things you would tell them to do? They don't know anything yet. They just know they want.
Yet, I would tell them to find really good local kind of established investors and do LP deals with them and learn from them. Learn from their experiences. Get quarterly return updates and go sit down with them once a month or whatever. And even if it's a small check, just learn. Even if you have to pay a preferred return or promote, who cares? Like, it's much better in the beginning. If you're doing single family, I have a different answer, which is a smaller check or more hands-on. If you do multifamily, there's a lot more risk. There's a lot more upside, but there's a lot more risk. And it's bigger numbers. I would start co-investing with somebody else. And after doing 1 or 2 deals, getting some distributions and K1s and depreciation, then I will go start doing myself. By the way, when I think multifamily, I think 200 units, right? 300. I don't think a 4-unit. My brain goes to what I did, which is bigger communities.
Yeah. You brought it up, so let's go back to single family then.
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
I would tell them to get their hands dirty, because the downside is a lot smaller. Like, you're gonna fall, instead of from here down, you're gonna fall from here to here, and you could bounce off the bottom. It's not gonna be that much of a drop, and especially that most people qualify for, like I said, for a DSCR loan. Like, you could probably get into an investment, not crazy, for 15 to 30K, and just use it as your PhD, as your learning experience. So things are gonna go wrong, right? So just go learn from that and handhold it, and go talk to the tenant and do your first eviction, and try to do a longer term lease, and see when you can refi your money out within X amount of time if possible. Just go learn and then duplicate it.
You said just learn at least 8 or 9 times. I don't know if you've tried to trademark that yet, but you might want to look into just learn. And if not, just learn something.
I just think, like, most people, like, they sit behind a computer and you can do the up and to the right and the beautiful Excel, but most pro formas are going to have all the expenses into it. The DSCR is going to change. Like, taxes you can't control, they're going to change also. You know, you might be able to depreciate it, but then you're not a full-time real estate investor, so that's fluff. So, like, by doing it and getting your hands dirty, you're going to learn much faster.
Yeah. No, I love it. That was a compliment and a suggestion.
Yeah.
2 things before we wrap. One is, where, cycle-wise or niche-wise, I don't care, where do you see yourself going, in the next 5 or so years? Because it might be different than the newbie, right? We're like, what's driving you?
So I'm in technology world right now. So we're going sell to rent, our platform. We're doing transactions all over the US. And for this go around, so in the previous round I did where we own and manage, and we put all our energy into growing the portfolio. And when that mindset is operational, cap rate driven, cash out driven, buy assets and grow to get to an economies of scale. Because when I had 200 employees and we have property management and all that, we needed X amount of doors to bring in cash flow to keep the overhead in place to be able to keep growing. For this one, so we're going sell-to-rent, and this is a national platform that does sale-leasebacks across the U.S., and where we help investors sell their house, cash out, say as renters. We just make a fee. So we're trying to get as many investors to buy as many leasebacks as possible across the U.S. And the difference is, like, I'm putting all our energy into the entrepreneur to grow the platform, not to grow assets. So we're making the journey better. We're doing a lot of underwriting. We're negotiating with the seller. We're talking to the HOAs. We're building a bunch of technology products around making the experience better. We're bringing the lenders to the table. We're doing inspections through Inspectify and different things like that. So we're doing as much as possible to help investors buy more assets faster. And then what's different about this, which I think is insane, is a lot of the sellers in our platform prepay rent. And what that does, so now you buy a house for 100K. You're getting a DSCR loan for 80 cents on the dollar, right? So 80, so now you need 20K or a little bit more with closing costs. Let's call that 25K. So you need 105 instead of 100. Well, the seller, because they're cashing out, a lot of times they're prepaying a year or 2 up front. So now your equity drops even more and even more and even more. And like every investor is going to learn is, if you don't have the cash, you can't close the deal. So at the end of doing all the math and the pro formas and you fall in love with the deal, you're like, how much cash do I got to bring to the closing table? Or after, when I got to rehab the property, right? So we're really helping when it comes to that. Yeah, so my brain for the next couple of years is going to be scaling sell-to-rent nationally. We've done transactions like 30 different states, and now our goal is to just keep scaling that.
Love it. Love it. What didn't I ask you Alex. We could talk for 2 hours. So there's some what that you want to share, I should say. There's a lot of things I didn't ask you.
It's like my favorite color, long walks on the beach.
Well, what
Then
magic do we leave on the table? We want to make sure.
look, if I could bring value, because it's always about value to me, and just I don't need anything from you guys, so it's more about experience sharing. For the people who are willing to take risk right now, I think are going to be ahead in 2, 3 years, because people are pulling back a lot right now, especially the consumer. And investors are like, well, I'm interest rate driven. Well, not really. Like interest rates, you get a DSCR loan for 6.75%. That's free money in the big scheme of things. We were buying for 13 and 2 points, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Further than 2, like hard money, bridge. So like to me, it's still not crazy expensive. The rents haven't fallen out of the face of the earth, which is literally what powers real estate. Like it's going to pay for the debt, right? And I think people acquiring right now who are willing to take a little bit of risk are going to be happy in the long term. And I hate when people are like, "Oh, but interest rates are so high." No, they're not.
No, they're not. No, I agree.
They're not. They only if you started this long ago and you're only looking back 2 years, right? Not in the big scheme of things. I think there's opportunities. I think people who are willing to go to tertiary markets, especially like in the Midwest, where people like take care of their houses, they might not skyrocket appreciation, but there's still going to be some appreciation and cash flow. I think it's good there. And then, we're just factual. We're seeing a lot of consumer problems that need help and they need liquidity, right? So that's just from like inside baseball, like things that we're seeing from inside the platform.
Yeah, I would agree. The distress lists and things we look at are growing.
I am shocked how many people come to us to sell to rent who are in foreclosure with equity. Okay, if you were in foreclosure, you're upside down, you'd be like, I want to walk away. And we try to figure out a short sale. I don't know. But if we walk in and they're like, hey, like I had to stop making my payments for, a couple months now. I'm going through this life situation. I'm like, wow, that's kind of eye-opening. Because I dealt with distressed debt, but it's a weird situation. It's a weird section right now. But a lot of times we've been able to help a lot of people by finding the investor who's willing to let them stay in place and let them cash out and pay off their, kind of necessities at that point.
Yeah, I love it. Let's share how these guys can reach you, Alex, because just a plethora of knowledge. Really, really appreciate and respect everything you've done and what you shared in such a short time. How can these guys reach you? Anything you want to share? Website, phone?
So my team is all over the internet. I'm very laid back. I stay behind the scenes. I have little kids now. I try to be the family guy, so I'm not all over too much. But sell-to-rent.com is our website. We're in all the major social channels: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. That's how much I know about social worlds. I'm not so much into it. YouTube, TikTok, all of them. We're in all of them. Investor wise, we're growing our investor community right now. We have, like I said, we've done deals all over the place. We'll love people to check them out. Like that's where we're growing. We're growing our investor side of the platform. We have lots of sellers that want to do this. And the main thing is we're making it really easy for the investor to grow because we're doing a lot of the work up front for them because we've been them, right? So we're building the entire journey to be like the easy button for them to grow and acquire and all that type of stuff.
Love it. So sell-to-rent.com, and you guys can look them up everywhere else on social. Alex, again, really appreciate you and your story and appreciate you being on and sharing. And we'll chat again, you and I, off air.
For sure.
Thanks, buddy. Okay, Smart Real Estate Coach listeners, that does wrap up our Smart Masters class today. I want to encourage you guys to check out my free Masters class as we creep up to year end here. Go to smartrealestatecoach.com/Masters podcast. Guys, it's free. No one's breathing down your neck. You go on there and you at your own leisure, and you walk through that. I'm big on free. You can also visit our YouTube channel where we post 400 or 500 different deals, as well as Motivational Mondays and Q&A Thursdays. We will see you next week. Be sure to share this episode, like this episode, give us a review. Can't wait to see you next week for another Smart Masters class.
Hey guys, are you simply sick of juggling a dozen different software tools for your real estate business? I know I was, and I know I'm not a tech person, so it was frustrating. A subscription for this, you get a subscription for that, and they don't even work together out of the box. That's very frustrating, especially in the real estate world where your best time spent is going to be out in the field or on the phone with sellers. And now you're stuck hiring a tech guru just to make all that sync up. So let's ditch the chaos and let REI Black Book handle everything. Automate your lead follow-up, track every deal, analyze things quickly for you, make offers all on one platform. In fact, with the Wicked Smart platform, we now have access, if you're in the Wicked Smart community, to all the other associates' properties. Can you imagine that? So you're brand new in the business perhaps, and your seller looks on your website and sees 20, 30, 40 properties, instant credibility. So you're going to get everything on REI Black Book, from our custom workflows for lead generation all the way to closing. It has it covered. Try it today for just $1, guys. Visit smartrealestatecoach.com/REIBB-DD. smartrealestatecoach.com/REIB as in boy, B as in boy, hyphen, D as in dog, D as in dog.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Smart Real Estate Coach podcast. If you got value from today's episode, guys, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a future episode. It literally takes one nugget to access some of the things we're doing. And when you're talking the size rather of the paydays, it's an opportunity cost that you can't let go. So don't miss an episode. And for goodness sake, share it with someone who needs to hear it. If you're ready to find your best path for getting started on your real estate investing journey in general, head over to smartrealestatecoach.com/get started. We're going to help you take the guesswork out of your next steps. See you in the next episode.